So today, welcome to Wednesday Wellness, where we invite teachers from around the world to share their tips and tricks on meditation. And today we have Kynan with us in person to share with us about love, metta meditation. So love is a gift. We may know the experience of love, but find it hard to articulate. Can it be reduced to a certain sensation or thought or quality of mind or emotion? Well, we believe that it goes much beyond this. Love is part of our deepest nature. And to know more, Kynan is here to explain to us what love really is or can be. So a bit about our teacher Kynan today. He's a meditation teacher who's interested in collaborating to navigate the vast range of tools and techniques most effectively to create freedom and meaning in our lives today. He came to meditation and Dharma practice after difficulties with mental health and found the practice to be transformative. Kynan is authorized to teach Dharma in a lineage that can be traced back to the Buddha. Kynan has practiced a number of different modern and traditional techniques of contemplative and introspective practice and draws on his experience as an artist, musician, educator, and programmer in order to teach in a way that is clear, practical, and creative. Kynan leads silent retreats, teaches one-on-one, offers courses, and also runs weekly classes. We'll share a bit more detail about Kynan's other activities at the end of the session as well. So this session will be recorded and we'll have time for question and answers. So when feel free to pop any of your questions in the chat if you're online. And for those in person, you can put your hand up. You don't have to pop your questions in the chat. And without further ado, I'll pass over to Kynan.
Great. Thanks, Sophia. Can you all hear me okay? Okay, great. Is the volume all right? Okay, good. Good. It's always weird there's no microphone. It's just like in the ceiling. Okay. Yeah, very happy to be here tonight. Thank you all for joining. I think it's really lovely to see so many people come. I didn't scare you away with that description. I was doing some research today and I read this line that I thought was so great. Different teachers try to find ways that don't sound nauseatingly sappy to half their audience while retaining enough force to inspire the other half. So I didn't put you off with that if you read the description ahead of time, that is. I'd actually like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land, the Dharma people, pay my respect to elders past and present, and acknowledge any Dharma people, any Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people living in this area today. So, I've been starting my sessions recently with like a little intro activity, a way to like connect and just for people who are happy to share, a way to like say something so you feel like you're involved from the outset. And so what I'd like you to do is if you could say your name, if you're online, if you could say where you are, that's kind of nice. And the question that I'd like you to answer is, what was something from your day that you liked? Something from your day that you enjoyed? And it could just be, very neutral, just something that happened. But it could be something that was like pleasant that you enjoyed. And so I'll go first. I'm Kynan. Today I went for a walk by the river, and it was beautiful. I really enjoyed it. Yeah.
Yeah. So for me, Chaitya, so for me, I think I was at work or working from home. So during the course of the day, I try to be a bit more mindful. So I thought I kind of progressed a bit further in that. So I kind of felt happy because of that.
Yeah, nice. Sure.
Hi everyone, I'm Gianna. Today was really nice. I got to share in my friend's joy. By being a bridesmaid, I got to be involved with planning and just seeing them light up as things were coming together was really nice. That was a bit fun.
My name is Brooke, and today there were kangaroos outside, and the kangaroo had a little Joey with her, and I was just watching them for a few hours, and they were just bouncing around or chewing some leaves, and I thought that was really cute.
Hi everyone, I'm Sophia, and today I was organizing a trip for Ajahn Yul, who will be here in May. He's a wonderful teacher and I've learned a lot from him, so I feel very happy that I can organize a trip for him, and there were some hiccups along the way that was resolved kind of a little bit more today, so I was very happy about that. Yeah.
Hi everyone, I'm Richard, and I provided some advice to someone and they had a really good outcome, and they were stuck in a very terrible situation for months, and yeah, after talking to me they were able to come to a breakthrough and actually made a decision to move on from that stage. It was very heartfelt and very warming for me.
Beautiful. And so we'll go to the online people. I'm not sure about if we all have the same order, so maybe I'll just call people out. So if you want to speak, please put your camera on. If you don't want to speak, no problem, you can post in the chat, or optionally, just listen. So who have we got? Iona? Is that how you say your name?
Ilona, yeah. Hi, I'm Ilona. I'm in Ultimo, Sydney. I actually had a remedial massage today, so that was quite pleasant.
Nice. Simran?
Hi, I'm Simran and I'm currently on a family trip in Port Macquarie. So what I enjoyed today was there was an event between 4 and 5, like drinks and food, as well as some music, which I don't usually listen to. But the lady was singing something about, like, it was a song from the Bee Gees about, oh, how much I love you. And I mouthed it to my brother, like, oh, how much I love you. And it was just really sweet.
Amazing. Bill?
Hi, yeah, I'm Bill. I'm in Loftus, which is in Darawal country. Don't have a very long memory, but the most recent thing, I just had a beautiful plant-based burger before I came here.
Nice. And maybe just if anyone else who does want to speak, you can unmute now, and then we'll go to the chat. Are you meant to count to 7? Is that the rule? Yeah.
8 or 7.
All right. Sophia, are you able to read the chat?
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
thanks.
So we have Anna. She said, hi, I'm Anna in Melbourne. Today I enjoyed engaging in a new meditation focusing on compassionate breathing. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
And we've got Umesh. He shared, Umesh is from Sydney. He finally did some paperwork that he had been putting off for a long time. And we've got David. David said that he caught up with his uncle and auntie, which he hasn't seen for a long time. And we've got Lenny. He said, hi, Lenny from Canberra. I really hope I'm saying your name right. I feel like I'm saying it wrong every week, and I apologize if I am. Leone, right? I just really feel like I'm saying, I'm sorry, Leone. It's Leone from Canberra. In the Gambri and Ngunnawal country. She's happy to be at this talk tonight. Thank you. And Eugene said he's temporarily in Melbourne. He had a vegan pho with lots of tofu for lunch, which is wonderful. Wow, it was so wonderful to read out all of these comments.
Great. Okay,
we put a lot of thoughts in our emojis.
We found the perfect emoji. Nice. Thanks everyone for doing that. I am feeling pretty positive after that. I feel a nice, pleasant sense of mudita. You know, this taking joy in the skillful actions of others, in the happiness of others. So I think that gets us off to a nice start. So thank you all for doing that. Okay, so for this talk, it looks to me, based on those responses, that people here have experience in meditation. Like, could we maybe just get an indication if anyone is like very new, like hasn't done meditation, hasn't heard of metta meditation before, maybe? If you could post in the chat, that would be super helpful. Otherwise, I will, yeah, just so that I make sure I target the talk at the right audience. Okay, looks like we're an experienced group. Great. So if you do have questions, please, yeah, post them in the chat or ask. I'll make time to answer questions throughout the talk. And yeah, I want to make sure that that things are clear. If there is anything that I talk about that is not clear, please let me know.
And we just had Ellie say one final comment to introduce herself
Yeah.
too.
Oh, cool.
She said, "Hi, I'm Ellie. I'm happy to find that one of Osho's talk in regards on emotions. The only problem with sadness, desperateness, anger, hopelessness, anxiety, anguish, misery is that you want to get rid of them. That's the only barrier. You will have to live with them. You cannot just escape. They're the very situation in which life has to integrate and grow. They are the challenges of life. Accept them, they are blessings in disguise."
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, I totally agree with the sentiment. Yeah, so this talk will be about metta, which is also known as loving kindness or love, and the practice of metta. And so just on that topic, you know, when we talk about metta, it might be the kind of thing where you really feel love and you feel warmth and it feels great. It could also be the kind of thing that brings up a whole range of other feelings. It could stir things up. It could feel like nothing, or you might feel frustrated at the fact that it's not how you expect it to go. And all of these things are perfectly fine in the context of the practice. We're not trying to force any particular feeling. All we're doing is inclining the mind, intending towards metta. And I'll go into this in more depth, but noticing any feeling of love or kindness that's already there. This is different from trying to force our experience to be one of love. And so, having said this, throughout this talk, it might go a little deep. We'll see where we get to. But of course, and we'll do a guided practice as well. So in the guided practice or in the talk, I really encourage you to just notice what you're experiencing yourself. And if at any point it feels like too much, or it feels like it's not quite the right time to explore this area, then feel free to make adjustments. You know, if we're practicing, you can make adjustments and focus on something grounding. Or during the talk, you know, feel free to just give yourself a bit of space, and maybe, yeah, if you need to just take a moment or pause. Basically, I encourage you to make skillful adjustments to make this work for you. And of course, we will have time as well to talk about it if other things come up other than metta. So yeah, if you do want to talk through that, there's that option as well. So what I'd like to do today, basically the structure will be, I want to talk a little bit about how the Buddha talked about metta, and maybe introduce a different way of thinking about it from how we might typically practice. I'd love to do a guided meditation for maybe somewhere between 25 to 30 minutes, if we can, a decent length guided meditation. And then have a decent amount of time for questions or discussion. Okay. So let's get into it. So maybe I could just get like a show of hands will sort of work. Who here has read any of the Buddhist suttas before, like anything from the Pali Canon? Yeah, hands up. Great. Yes, everyone basically. Who here has read the Metta Sutta before? Great. Hands up. Amazing. Okay. Yeah, so the Buddha talked about metta a number of times in the suttas. There are discussions of metta, so particularly the Metta Sutta is probably the core teaching on metta, and I'm going to read a translation of that in a minute. But we have the Metta Sutta. Then we also have the different ways that metta pops up in other suttas. So it's talked about as one of the Brahma Viharas, one of the sort of different translations of Brahma Vihara, but like a divine or sublime abiding, or a divine abode. And there's 4 Brahma Viharas: metta, compassion, sympathetic joy, and equanimity. So it's talked about in that context. Metta is also talked about as to do with sila, to do with conduct. And so how important it is to, for example, to speak with a mind of loving kindness. The Buddha really rated metta very highly. He talked about it as being of great importance and of being of great benefit to the path of practice, towards the freedom from suffering. However, in the Pali Canon, there aren't many instructions on how to practice. So I'm going to read the Metta Sutta in a minute. But the instructions sort of come a bit later. And when we read something like the Metta Sutta, I think it's worth noting that we can use different words. So even the word metta sometimes, quite often, is translated as loving kindness. And it might be that this word loving kindness, my understanding of this from my research is that the word loving kindness was introduced when the first translations of the Buddhist texts were made widely available, especially brought into the US. And they used loving kindness to differentiate from a kind of Christian love. And in fact, the word loving kindness then takes on this kind of air of, it's still about friendliness, and it's still about kindness, and it's still about love, but it has a little bit of distance built into it. And, the Buddha also talked about like dispassion and how dangerous sense desire was. So I think the translators tried to separate that out and maybe keep it away from like romantic love or sexual love or other types of love that might be more passionate. And so I think that's the reason for the translation of loving kindness. And of course, over the decades since then, loving kindness has been a really important phrase. Many people practice with that, and it's been really useful. I, however, heard this translation of the Metta Sutta by Thich Nhat Hanh, and I heard this at a talk with Bhante Tejadharma. He was reading this, and he said that the word should be love. The word metta should be translated as love. And when I heard this sutta read with the word love, it felt like it hit different. It did something different to me rather than loving kindness. So I'd like to read that now. Oh, last time I tried to read this, I teared up and I couldn't really get through it. We'll see what happens this time. Okay, so this is the Metta Sutta, translated by Thich Nhat Hanh. This is available on his website as well. It's under the title Discourse on Love. Okay, so someone who wants to attain peace should practice being upright, humble, and capable of using loving speech. They will know how to live simply and happily, with senses calmed, without being covetous and carried away by the emotions of the majority. Let them not do anything that will be disapproved of by the wise ones. And this is what they contemplate. May everyone be happy and safe, and may all hearts be filled with joy. May all beings live in security and in peace, beings who are frail or strong, tall or short, big or small, invisible or visible, near or far away, already born or yet to be born. May all of them dwell in perfect tranquility. Let no one do harm to anyone. Let no one put the life of anyone in danger. Let no one, out of anger or ill will, wish anyone any harm. Just as a mother loves and protects her only child at the risk of her own life, cultivate boundless love to offer to all living beings in the entire cosmos. Let our boundless love pervade the whole universe, above, below, and across. Our love will know no obstacles. Our heart will be absolutely free from hatred and enmity. Whether standing or walking, sitting or lying, as long as we are awake, we should maintain this mindfulness of love in our own heart. This is the noblest way of living. Free from wrong views, greed, and sensual desires, living in beauty and realizing perfect understanding, those who practice boundless love will certainly transcend birth and death. Gives me chills every time. I really love that translation, and I think, especially knowing a bit about Thich Nhat Hanh and his life and his work, it really rings deeply for me. It really resonates. And so, yeah, translated there is metta as the word love, but what he's talking about is like a very deep sense of love. It's not all the little manifestations of love. And, you know, we all shared little lovely things just then, and I felt a sense of joy, and that's part of it. But it's this deeper love, the boundless love, the love for all beings. And I think that's really, really powerful. I also think the word love is helpful because I think it helps us to set our sights on what we really want. So I was having a conversation, this was back when I was doing teacher training, and I had a conversation with a friend who was also training, and we're talking about how to guide metta practice. And I was saying, I'm not so sure about using the word love. Like, I don't want to put people off, or maybe it's a bit too strong, or yeah, maybe we should stick with something kind of safer. And my friend, she said to me, no, we should use the word love, because that's what we want to do. And by using the word love, we actually introduce, we can claim this, we can use that, and we can create a sense of like platonic love that's really powerful, and to use it in context where it's understood that way. It's this love for all beings. Okay, so then we have there's a few suttas that describe metta practice. You'll notice in that sutta, there is the one line, may everyone be happy and safe, and may all hearts be filled with joy. But the Buddha there doesn't say, you know, to sit there and repeat this phrase, right? Which is how we not typically think of practice. That actually comes later in the Visuddhimagga, one of the commentaries, which was written hundreds of years after the Buddha's life. So this is another sutta where the Buddha actually talks a little bit more about practicing metta. And so I mentioned before, this metta is one of the Brahma Viharas. Brahma gets mentioned here, basically the divine, or one of the gods, I'm going to get this slightly wrong, but like basically it ties in with the spirituality and religious traditions that were already existent at that time. Okay, so the Buddha says, what, student, is the path to the company of Brahma? Here a monk dwells pervading 1/4 with a mind imbued with loving kindness, likewise the second, likewise the third, likewise the fourth. Oh, this is Bhikkhu Bodhi's translation. So he's using the word loving kindness here. So above, below, around, and everywhere, and to all as to himself, he dwells, pervading the all-encompassing world with a mind imbued with loving kindness, abundant, exalted, immeasurable, without hostility, and without ill will. When the liberation of mind by loving kindness is developed in this way, no limiting action remains there, none persists there. Just as a vigorous trumpeter could make himself heard without difficulty in the four quarters, so too, when the liberation of mind by loving kindness is developed in this way, no limiting action remains there, none persists there. This is the path to the company of Brahma. Okay, so there's some more adjectives there. Not so much a practice instruction. Still a little vague on the details of what you do when you sit down. So I'll just draw attention to this phrase. There's one particular phrase there. So he dwells, they dwell, pervading the all-encompassing world. So we've got this word dwell or dwells. And this is interesting because it's not even it's not an instruction. It's not saying like, go dwell. It's just that this is what they do. It's like totally passive. Just dwell with this mind imbued with love and kindness. Just dwell. And I think this actually, yeah, it's not a doing. It's not a cultivating. It's not a generating. It's not really even an intention, right? And so this actually ties us in with later traditions of Buddhism and effortless practice, right? Where you kind of get out of your own way, in a sense, and just let things happen. And I would actually think of this in terms of as a bridge to practicing this. You know, if it would be great if we all could just sit there and suddenly loving kindness was what we dwelled in. But of course, that's not always what arises. So we do need to work on creating conditions and using intention. And this is a very important part of practice as well. But the way I would think of this as a bridge is to consider this as a receiving. Not so much a going out and directing, but instead of receiving this love, receiving this kindness. Okay, so I'd actually love to go into a guided practice now. We'll do the practice and then straight after we'll have a chance to check in and practice reports and questions after that. Okay, how are we doing for time? Great. Oh, lights as well. Perfect.
Perfect time.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, so make your way to a comfortable meditation posture. And so in your posture, you want to find a balance between being relaxed and alert. So not so comfortable that you will fall asleep, but as comfortable as you can be with a degree of brightness and clarity. Take a minute here just to find a comfortable position, allow the body to relax, and allow the mind to settle. And if there's anything you can do to make yourself even 1% more comfortable, feel free to do that now. And then once you've found comfortable posture, resolve to be as still and quiet as you reasonably can. allowing the stillness of the body to be reflected in the mind. So with this practice, we'll explore a few different ways to practice metta. The intention here is to receive, to dwell, to welcome, to allow. See if it's possible to bring a sense of openness, curiosity, to just receive what comes, to allow the instructions to be poured in, to just see what happens. Now, bring your attention to the sounds that you can hear. Orienting to the space that you're in. Noticing what the sounds are in your environment. And just allowing them to arise and pass. Receiving the sound, being receptive to that changing soundscape. Now bring your attention to the sensations of the body. It can be nice to start with the sensation in the hands. What do your hands feel like? Just noticing where there is warmth or coolness, where there is pressure or solidity, or texture where the hands are resting on something or something is resting on the hands. Just noticing what the hands feel like right now. And then bring attention to the feeling of being supported. So noticing your seat or where the body contacts the chair or cushion or floor, whatever the body is resting on. Notice that sense of being held. And so in this practice, if at any point you are not sure what to do or you want to come back to something grounding, you can return to sounds, the hands, or the feeling of being supported. And this is always an option to return to one of these home bases. Now, on the feeling of being supported, allow your awareness to expand. So we'll go part by part, but eventually we want to expand awareness to include the whole body. So from the seat, part of your body contacting the chair or cushion or floor, allow your awareness to expand into the lower body, the legs, ankles, feet, from the hips down to the toes. Opening up the awareness, expanding to include that whole area. Then moving up the body, include the torso, the lower, middle, and upper back, the abdomen and the chest, the whole torso, also included in awareness. And then include the shoulders and the arms all the way down to the fingertips. Expanding awareness. And then include the neck, throat, and also the head. Top of the head, sides of the head, the face. Including the whole body in awareness. Allowing the awareness to fill that space. Space of the body, or maybe even slightly larger than the body. And within that, gently holding whatever sensations are present. Just tuning into the overall feeling, the felt sense, or the feeling tone of the whole body. And so now we'll move into our metta practice. And we begin metta by setting the intention of kindness. This is simply the wish for yourself and for other beings to be well and to be happy. You all know the feeling of being happy, how nice it is. Wouldn't it be nice if all other beings were also happy? Just this intention. So we have just one metta phrase that we want to use today. And so I encourage you to gently repeat this phrase that I'm about to say. Just notice what arises. Be open to whatever you experience in the body, whatever thoughts or images arise for you. The phrase is, may I be held in loving presence. May I be held in loving presence. May I be held in loving presence. And just dropping that phrase in when resting, receiving. Say that phrase, sometimes I get a sense of being in a nice space, a space that has presence, comfy chair, being at home, maybe being in a library, being in nature. Sometimes for me, the phrase brings up an image of a person that's kind and caring, maybe even like a grandparent looking after a grandchild. And see if any of these resonate for you. Sometimes we could also bring in a historical figure. We say, may I be held in loving presence. We might get a sense of the Buddha and the loving presence that's carried through centuries with his words. Could also be a figure like Jesus Christ, the love, compassion. That figure might bring to mind. Could also bring in any other figure that you have resonance or connection with. Maybe Kuan Yin, Bodhisattva of compassion, Avalokiteshvara, Green Tara. You might have a sense of receiving this loving presence from one of these figures or deities. Another way you can use this practice is if there's a teacher that you have learned from, that you are connected with. You might imagine them giving you this sense of love, acceptance, compassion. I had a friend who practiced imagining Sharon Salzberg offering kindness. Could be also Tara Brach, Jack Cornfield, Ajahn Brahm, Robert Bayer, any teachers that you have a connection with. Imagining them offering kindness. Holding a space of loving presence. So tune into the sense of the Sangha, the community, the other practitioners here holding this space of loving presence. Or anyone who isn't able to practice here with you, but you feel connected with as part of your Sangha. Imagining they're sitting here with you. like to offer one more instruction. Allow your awareness to open up. Get a sense of all of the sensations you're experiencing, the sounds, the body sensations, thoughts. These are all arising within a broader awareness. This awareness is spacious, vast, boundless. Completely open. No boundaries, no edges. This knowing awareness, still and quiet. This awareness is not inert, neutral. Notice that awareness itself is loving. Awareness itself is holding all of this experience, holding it in a kind of loving presence. This sense of spacious awareness, noticing this love, receiving this love and tenderness, receiving this gift of love. Nice work, everyone. Take your time Very gently and slowly coming out of the meditation practice. I like to stretch or move around. Okay, so yeah, I'd love to go into if anyone would like to share what their experience was like, if there are any questions, or if yeah, if that meditation or the talk before brought up anything that you'd like to bring forward. I did see there were some posts in the chat.
Yes, Simran said that her family just came back to the apartment. She will leave this session in favor of practical method towards them. She said good night all. And Eugene said, thank you, Kynan. Unfortunately, he's got to go. We'll watch the recording on YouTube later.
Okay, very nice. Yes, practical matter. That's a good thing.
When you said think of a historical figure before you clarify, I started like racking my brains for my favorite historical figure, and I'm like, okay, really strong, spiritual, full of power, and I thought Joan of Arc. That's who I was imagining, Joan of Arc. Oh my god! And then you clarified, and I was like, okay, not Joan of Arc.
Well, what did that do? To imagine Joan of Arc.
I don't know. I thought like she's a strong woman of her time, and she led all these battles, and she had all of these dreams and visions of winning and bringing her country justice and peace. And yeah, I don't know. I thought like I felt good when I was thinking of her. I was like, yeah, Joan of Arc.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think I actually would say that, you know, it's more about what is the experience? Like, what does that do for you? So yeah, you'll notice that in this meditation we were bringing imagination in. And this is probably a longer talk, so I'll try to keep it short. But you know, with imagination, we don't need to question whether it is real or not real, whether it's right or wrong. We can actually just look at, well, what is the experience like? What does that do for your sense of being? What does that do for freedom and meaningfulness? And where is the resonance? Where is the love there? And so if there was a sense of love or respect or appreciation, that is real, you know, that is part of your experience. And so yeah, I'm always encouraging people, if they have something that they experience that feels interesting or important, to actually explore it, to go with it. There's you know, there's no harm done in trying that out and seeing what happens.
Yeah, initially like when you were clarifying, I was like, Joan of Arc, too many dead bodies, too many slain in battlefield by her. And then yeah, I was like, but at first, yeah, like, you know, there were so many other qualities. I mean, she did get burnt to death, like burnt at stake, but apart from that, like, there were like lots of positive qualities, I think. And for her time, you know, being a woman, and leading battles, and women weren't even allowed on the battlefield, so she was, yeah, quite strong. She wasn't afraid to die. Anyway.
Yeah, like, she was a revolutionary and a martyr, and very courageous.
Yeah.
And I can hear those qualities coming through as you talk about it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing.
I can share.
Yeah, please.
I loved like the phrase held, because I think a lot about what it means for them to be the divine abodes and what does it mean to abide? And I've been trying to find more adjectives, so I really appreciated that phrase. And it was interesting to notice how quickly I landed in it. And I did feel held by the word, and it's interesting our relationship to words and how that plays out in practice. And I appreciate that you said that you normalized the imagination coming through, because I did sort of see how little Gianna was conditioned very young, because the image that came to my mind, and this might be a little bit specific for everybody, but I used to watch this show called Sailor Moon when I was little.
Me too.
And she was this incredible, you could think of her as like a superhero, and she really stood for friendship and for love. And she was very brave with her emotions. Like if she wanted to save someone, stand up for someone, her heart was on her sleeve. And the image that actually came to mind was the image of her transformation when she transformed into Sailor Moon, and like this ribbon would just kind of explode from her heart, and this light would emanate from like her little tiara on her head. And I would always see that as so beautiful growing up. And for me, it wasn't just aesthetically beautiful, it was her love just bursting forward. And so it was interesting. I think for me in that moment, what I visualized was when I am held and I am resourced by love, this is what sort of just naturally emanates from me. So it actually felt really nice to see.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that. Yeah, I think I can actually picture the scene,
Yeah.
the sequence that would show of that transformation. And yeah, I think it's really interesting to have those things that, maybe from childhood or that we placed a certain meaning on, we found resonance in them, and then for that to come back up, with these different words. Yeah, I think it's really beautiful. Yeah, thanks for sharing that.
We do have a few people sharing online too.
Great.
So Anna said, thank you very much. That meditation was incredibly powerful. The love that I received was overwhelming and resonated throughout all of me. It felt like it was coming from an ancestral part of my life, really strong. Thank you very much for facilitating this beautiful experience.
Great. Actually, I might just respond to that. Thank you, Anna, for sharing. And yeah, it sounds like a pretty powerful experience. And so just on the side of when things do feel overwhelming, that can be strong emotion is great when we have the resources to hold that. And it sounds like you were able to kind of move with that in this practice. So that's great. But, if things do ever feel overwhelming, there's always the option to just take it easy. But you used the word ancestral there, and I just wanted to share something. So that phrase, held in loving presence, I learned that from Tara Brach guided meditation, guided metta practice that I just found so beautiful. And for me, it was the very first time she said that phrase, held in loving presence, I immediately had this image of my grandparents, my ama and akong, and them looking after me. And for me, it did actually feel like it connected to some kind of ancestral, something bigger than just my own life, something that extended through time, and that sense of love and care and kindness that maybe goes down through generations or maybe transcends time in some way. And so yeah, I just wanted to share that for me was very resonant, that that there was, for me it was a specific image of my grandparents, but there can be different ways that loving presence is. Thank you.
That was helpful, Anna. And we also had Anna pointing out that I think the volume, she wishes the volume can be turned up. I don't know if we can turn it up here, but perhaps we can speak a bit louder. I think the microphone volume is at the highest.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
I'll take responsibility for that one. I get a bit quiet when I meditate.
Oh, yeah.
I'll try and project more, but yeah, thanks for the feedback. That's a good point.
Yeah, that's not completely you. We get reports a lot. There's that microphone there. So it may help if you move a little bit closer, but for all of us here, we may need to speak up a bit.
Okay.
Yeah, Anna, let us know if you still have issues with hearing, and we'll definitely adjust so you can hear us.
Can I echo something from what you just shared? What sort of came to my heart and mind when you shared that was sometimes I try to think of how I and all of us are sort of a product of love. And it can be as simple as like the meal that was made for me for my mom today. Like every little thing, we are ultimately a product of love. And I think in practice and seeing those people come to our mind or that resonance through our ancestors, that's sort of what came to mind as well as the good. Every little thing is sort of contributed to that.
Right. So if I'm understanding correctly, it's sort of that there are, it's kind of like all of the causes and conditions
Yeah.
that come into you being you in this moment. Actually, there's so much love in all of that.
Yeah.
So sure.
Truly. Like being born here was a product of love. Your parents thinking of where to raise you, to you know, that compliment that your friend gave where they believed in you, that was a product of love. So it will never get to the root of everything, but it's nice to notice that there's so many seen and unseen ways that we are the product of love.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you.
That's so beautiful.
Are there more? Anything else online?
Yeah, we actually do have a question from someone.
Yep.
So Ilona said, why do you think metta dominates the other Brahma Viharas and there are so many metta practices, but not so many for others like mudita?
Good question. Okay, so I'll just present my theory, or maybe just one way of understanding this. So I would say that mudita is a great practice, and if that resonates with you, absolutely. Yeah, it is true that metta is the most common one that we see. You know, if you go on Insight Timer, you see lots of metta, not that much mudita. I have one student who didn't find metta to be very accessible, but mudita for them was really powerful. And they were just like going around feeling so skillful. They'd go to a cafe and just watch everyone doing their work and just feel so much joy at all the skillful action of other people. And so they really leaned into that, and that was really powerful. Okay, how to think of this? In the later tradition, so like Vajrayana Buddhism, actually equanimity is the first of the Brahma Viharas, so it's practiced in a different order. So metta being the first one, it kind of maybe ties more with just the sort of cultural landscape that we have. And so that, I guess, is the framing that we understand it from. So one of the understandings of the Brahma Viharas that I quite like is that the four Brahma Viharas are actually, they're kind of the same quality, but they're just the same quality directed towards different people in different situations. So metta is what is felt when it's directed towards someone who is, friendly, kind. Compassion, karuna, is what is felt when this same feeling of goodwill and love is directed towards someone who is suffering. Mudita is when that love is directed towards someone who is acting well, acting skillfully. And then equanimity is what the love becomes when directed towards someone acting unskillfully. And so I kind of like that framework because it's sort of gives an application or how those different Brahma Viharas might arise in social interactions. But what I would say is that it can be really valuable to actually spend some time practicing mudita. You know, the way I like to describe it is like, sit there and think about the people you know who are doing good things in the world. Think about your friend who is, doing well at work. Think about someone who is like very kind to their child. Think about, yeah, the person who you saw like help somebody get on the train. Like thinking about that aspect is part of our experience that we often don't pay that much attention to. It kind of just gets caught up in the busyness of everyday life. So yeah, I think actually practicing mudita is really good. The phrase I like to use then is I try to keep it simple, like, may you continue acting skillfully. May you continue acting skillfully. Yeah, that would be my go-to. But yeah, it's a good question, and I think what is maybe coming now is an understanding of how all four Brahma Viharas are really important and how to practice all four of those. I think that would be a really lovely thing to work towards. Does that answer your question, Helena? Great.
You're on mute, Eleanor, if you wanted to say something. No stress,
find
Eleanor.
that.
Take your time.
Sorry, I couldn't unmute. Thank you. Yeah, no, that was good. Yeah.
Okay. So we have 10 more minutes. Let's see. I did have more prepared, but yeah, let me just say a couple more quick things, then we'll see if there are any final questions or comments. For me, in my own practice, this sense of receiving has been really powerful. So I mentioned hearing that phrase, may I be held in loving presence, and seeing my grandparents and having the sense of being held by their love. I've also had a number of other experiences where, particularly on retreat, meditation retreat, silent retreat, where it was like a growing sense that there was a quality of love in all of experience. And so at the end of that guided practice, we expanded out to notice the awareness, the sense of that spacious awareness that everything is occurring within. And yeah, my experience on silent retreat was that as I noticed more and more over a number of days and weeks, as I noticed more and more that all of these sensations and phenomena were arising within awareness, and I was able to see those as like just happening. As you know, I didn't have to identify with them. I didn't have to try to control them. I could actually see at times over a progressive period of time, I could see that they were empty. What then arose was this sense that actually, if everything is empty, everything is mystical and wonderful. And from that, there really came this really powerful sense of love. And, it couldn't be said to come from anything in particular, and it wasn't something I was creating or doing, but just that there was this kind of love that held everything, or that all the appearances arose out of. Maybe this actually ties into what you were saying, John. There is this sense of love that like propels all these actions forward. Even just like the sound of the birds felt like it was an act of love in some way. And so it's my belief that, yeah, this sense of love, this deep sense of love is, we could say it's our deepest nature. Like all beings have this Buddha nature, this ultimate reality of being this yeah, words fail at this point. But all beings have this as their true nature, and this true nature is a loving nature. And yeah, I think it's a really powerful thing to practice towards this, and to practice towards this love, boundless love for all beings, or for all experience. Okay. All right. Any final questions, comments, reflections? I also just want to welcome, if anyone had a very different experience from what we've talked about, feel free to share that. This is absolutely a space where you can feel free to share whatever you'd like.
I really appreciate that at the beginning of the meditation, you said that if you find you need to come back to something grounding, like come back to sound or your posture or your hands. And I found that really useful because during meditation, sometimes I'll find myself getting a bit dissociated, but I guess that's what meditation does sometimes. But and I found myself getting that. And so when I found I was doing that this time, it was like, okay, I'll just come back to the grounding things. And then that brought me back to feeling safe instead of feeling scared. So I found that really useful. Thanks for that.
Yeah, great. I'm glad that was helpful. And yeah, I think it's such a good tool to have, right? To know that you can intentionally control or what you have some agency.
Yeah.
That you're not just being carried away by whatever the practice is, but you can actually make sure that you feel safe, that you feel comfortable. Yeah. And yeah, I think developing a sense of agency in practice is such a cool thing. That's something I'm really happy when I get to see people developing.
Yeah. Do you think if people like suffer from like anxiety, dissociation, that it's better to do like it's better to go with a guided meditation? Because when I find if it's unguided and there's too long spaces, then I'll start like looping and going to weird places. So do you find it's like better to do that for a while?
Yeah, it's a good question. I guess I'm curious, like roughly how much practice are you doing? Are we talking like hour-long silent sits, or like is it, when you say like a long gap, do you mean like 10 or 15 minutes, or do you mean like 30, 40 minutes?
Not even that, like just when the person's talking and guiding it, it's like if they've been silent for like 4 or 5 minutes, my brain's like starting to go to weird places. So
right.
Yeah. So, but I find it's easier like with a guided thing, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay. You probably don't know much about that. I think it's a really very specific question, but that's okay.
No, I actually, I have thoughts on this. So I think if you find something that works for you, that's really the most important thing, for sure. So if you find that guided practice feels like it's leading you in a good direction, getting the sense of grounding, the meditation practice is doing what you would like it to do. You're getting a sense of that developmental progression. That's the most important thing. So yeah, I read this interesting study where they asked people who experienced dissociation about how they would describe their experience. And then they asked like advanced meditators what their experience is like. And the two descriptions were exactly the same. Like, the phenomenology of it, they're like, okay, how you would describe it with words. But the people who are just experiencing dissociation had a very negative valence to it, and the meditators had a very positive valence. And so it seems to depend on how you get there.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And also the framing, the context, whether it feels like it's a kind of like, because mindfulness does encourage a kind of dissociation, right?
Yeah.
It's like observing your experience objectively rather than subjectively. So we do want to be careful about that. So what I would say there is, yeah, it's about how you get there and about the framing and the sense of agency. So yeah, it can be really good if you have all of that stuff in place to observe the mind do all of its
Yeah.
wild things.
So in that case, okay, so then if, okay, say if, like, if you have a history of dissociation and then just for that reason, when you do experience mindfulness and meditation, you are reminded of that. And so it's kind of the association. And how, like, this is going to be a hard question, but like, how do you think you'd begin to break that association of,
Yeah.
you know, dissociation being associated with anxiety and negativity to being, you know, having just an open awareness kind
Yeah.
of thing? How
Yeah.
do you begin to actually break down that association?
Cool. I'll give you a short answer because we're running out of time,
Okay,
but we
okay.
can talk more later. That would be really interesting.
Okay.
But the short answer would be practice techniques and intentions that bring you more into connection with your experience. So awareness of the body, you know, noticing what you are feeling and what is happening in your present moment experience. And then when there is a sense of spaciousness, and if you notice that it starts to feel like, oh, this is bringing up that association to an unpleasant past experience, you can actually see if there is mindfulness there, start to just very gently, you know, with, you know, little bit by little bit, like dipping your toe in the water just to check that the temperature is okay, but just start to notice if the spaciousness has a pleasant quality. Because the spaciousness of mindfulness, of meditation practice will have a pleasantness to it, an openness, a sense of relief, a lightness, whereas the dissociation will often feel more blank or disconnected.
Yeah.
So that would be my,
It's a wall.
exactly.
Yeah.
So that's the brief one, and yeah, let's talk about that more
Okay,
if that would be helpful. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're welcome.
Thanks.
We
Okay.
are running out of time, but we do have 2 questions actually from online.
Yep.
If you be okay to.
I'm happy to, but should
Yeah.
we say bye to anyone who needs to leave?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Okay.
If anyone needs to leave, please feel free to. Won't be offended.
So yeah, maybe could I just say a couple of things I can dedicate the merit, and
Absolutely.
then we can answer
Finish
any
up.
further questions. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you'd like to hang out with me more, I'm teaching a retreat with my teacher, Dr. Tucker Peck, who's a clinical psychologist and meditation teacher. We're teaching a retreat in March 25th to 30th. It's called Exploring the Mind. And so it'll be about, it'll be student centered, so you can do your own practice, but there will be discussion around meditation and psychology as well. I also run, a weekly class, and I run courses a couple of times a year. You can find out more on my website, kynanmeditation.net.
Yeah. Just link that retreat online.
Ah, amazing, thank you. Okay, so just to dedicate the merit from tonight, may these practices and our harmonious interactions be of great benefit to ourselves and also towards the happiness and freedom of all beings. So thank you all for being here. It's really, really lovely to spend this time with you. So thank you. Appreciate it.
And thank you, Kynan, for such a loving session. Felt the love in the air from the start to finish. Beautiful, and in meditation too. And I love the discussion too, like everyone's contributions and questions. What a beautiful way to spend our Wednesday. I might be biased. Meta is like my favorite, so very clearly biased. But yeah, what a beautiful way to spend our Wednesday night, just in the loving presence of each other. And I just want to did you also mention you have weekly classes, or did you want to share those details as well?
Yeah, so I run an online class every week on Thursday evening. So it's on Zoom from 6 till 7 p.m. I've been running it for years, 3 years now. And it's lovely. I get so much joy from seeing people there, and yeah, you're totally free, welcome to come whenever you can. And so yeah, the information for that's on my website, or yeah, send me an email and I'll let you know about all the details.
Yeah, and I can tell Kynan spent so much effort researching his topics and really thinking about how to structure the classes and the meditation sessions so that we really understand it. So thank you very much for that. And please join on Thursdays if you are free. And yeah, some, I guess, announcements from Meta Center too. We have Monday wisdom sessions now. So we have Dharma talks on Mondays, online and in person in Bankstown. We have Tuesday yogas in person in Bankstown. And we have Wednesday wellness sessions, meditation focused, in person in Parramatta as well as online. And we have monthly Santee Sundays, that's once a month. This year we have in November our 10-year anniversary. I say this every week, so you must know it by now. Yeah, we're gonna have a mega dana, invite all the teachers that's taught at Meta Center together to have a big festival. Yes, it's gonna be lots of fun. And yeah, we bring a few teachers into Australia too. So there will be a teacher called Ajahn Yo, who'll be coming in May. We might do a 4-day retreat there. He's a wonderful teacher. He's really, really good. So hope that you know, no save the dates yet, but we'll let you know as soon as we figure those things out. We also have
the Vemoka retreat.
yeah, Vemoka retreat.
Yeah.
February this
Yeah,
month,
yeah.
right? Yeah, so there's like day retreats with Venerable Vemoka. It's really cool. Like
Yeah.
he teaches in very practical ways.
He's the best.
It also heals you, so you need some healing, mentally and physically. That might be good. Yes, and that should be, yeah, that's on our Meta Center website, all of this events. So I'll also link that here in the Zoom. So thank you, everyone. We will leave the Zoom on if you would like to stay for the discussions further, but otherwise, feel free to go. Have a good night. So I know that Ellie had a question, iPhone 13. Did you want to ask that question, Ellie? Now we can go to Ellie, are you still there?
Yes, I'm here. Actually, I want to share something, but I feel it's inappropriate in this forum because I just want to say what is love, and I feel love is. I hope it is off the record because I feel seriously I don't know what is love. So I'm a late bloomer, and I feel love is so this is about something, you take something and then you feel something, okay? It's very hard to feel this feeling in meditation. I have tried approximately 2 years. I did not feel anything about meditation, but I do feel in my everyday life, I feel more grounding, especially working meditation. But I want to emphasize love is this mystical experience that you suddenly aware everything, everywhere is love. And then your heart is like going to burst, but not swelling, not feeling, and you realize everything is love. And the only thing in this life you want to find is love. It doesn't matter. You want to be successful, you want to be be the best version of yourself, but the ultimate goal is you want to find out love. And that's it, all I can say. It's very mysterious.
So the line was a little hard to hear. Let me just try to like summarize what you asked and check that it is I heard it correctly.
Mhm.
So you were saying that the feeling of love is not something that is very clear in meditation practice, and that you have heard about love, or this seems to be the goal, but it
Um,
doesn't make sense to you. Is that right?
no, kind of. I feel the love is previously. I know I was naively thinking when I was in my younger days. I feel the love is, about relationship, family love. The love you for your partners or for your children. But once I had that experience, I feel love is such an overwhelming experience. It's like you suddenly aware everything is made out of love. Everything, including the chairs, including the cupboard, including the molecules everywhere near you, is made out of love. And that's the feeling I want to emphasize. And that's love is you just love everything, no matter what. Even you can give all your life just for that love. And I feel that's the real love. The love is not for, shallow conditions, because you look beautiful, I love you, and that's love. That's not love. Or you are rich and I love you, then that's love. But no, love is greater than all this. Yeah. So that's my view.
That's beautiful. I
Mm.
heard that much clearer that time. Yeah, I think that's right. I think that deeper sense of love is, yeah, it's what should be driving everything. And when we can open to that, it is overwhelming.
Mm.
One of the teachers that I really love, one of the teachers that I follow says that the heart opens because it breaks open.
Yes, that feeling overwhelming. It's almost like you are going to have a heart attack, and it's
Yeah.
amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think here, to me, yes, that sense of love is one of my highest values and my highest goals. That's what I want to align my life with. But it's hard as well. So the more love you feel, the more suffering you notice. You feel the suffering of others and that sense of compassion, but without necessarily being able to change things for other people, or to really feel, and also that love gets obscured, it gets covered over. That's hard, but that's what I think we practice to make it more and more accessible and to keep that opening. But I must say it's a hard path, and I think that's why not everyone does it.
But I feel as a human being, we have the potential to try to reach that goal. Yes, I feel it every day. And the quote I share from Osho is that it's just amazing. And I feel if you can read, I feel sorry that discourse I share is from the art of death, the art of death, and then it shares about if you can't feel the suffering and you don't know what happiness is, and vice versa. So we're constantly in this duality, and then that during this friction, we I feel even God itself is this duality. God also created the night, created the day. So God is both everything altogether. So if you can center yourself and experiencing both without judging it, without wanting to changing the current situation, I feel we can reach this ultimate, I'll say, enlightenment or self-realization. That's my current path, and it's very hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, beautifully said. And yeah, it if anyone says that it's easy, they see what what they actually mean. But
yeah, if any master says they have everything worked out, then that's not real master. Nobody works out in their life. Nobody.
yeah, that's right. But yeah, thanks so much for sharing.
That's okay. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing, Ellie. And we had Leonie said they're just watching the movie. Question mark. I don't know what you mean, but we did have a question before. I think they may have deleted the comment when we ran out of time. I think the question was something along the lines of, when we have love, then we can easily get taken advantage by people around us because we're kind and loving. So what to do with those situations?
Yeah. Yeah, I read something about this today that I quite liked, which was, it's not one of the classic near enemies, but maybe a modern one of like becoming a Buddhist doormat.
Yes.
And so we don't want to do that. But real love is fierce and it's powerful. And when we have love and compassion that is really opening to that deeper sense, it is also a love and compassion for ourselves. And that, I think, is the thing that prevents us from getting caught up or getting pushed over or taken advantage of. But yeah, again, that's something we need to be mindful of, be aware of.
I love that. That was so good. Hope that helps. And I have a question. How does the symptoms of dissociation and meditation ultimately align? Like, to me, in my view, they're so different. The experience of it is so different. So I'm curious. I'm genuinely like wishing to know how this study found that.
Yeah.
But probably first thing, the way you experience dissociation is in the same way I do. You probably think of it more as zoning out, but when I experience it as if there's like a class and I can't like actually interact with anything. So you're probably thinking about it in a different way.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I haven't dissociated much since high school. When I did, it actually felt very similar to when I do not self-meditation.
Right.
So I can see how they come to a similar conclusion there. Like recalling my experiences from high school, it was like all this stuff is just happening and none of it is me. I feel so disconnected from it.
Right.
But the difference there would be like, yeah, what I was saying before, like how did you get there? How do you understand that? And what knowledge can you gain from it? How can you use that to lead to something actually quite nice or pleasant or beautiful or more connected?
Yeah, there's sometimes where I think the dissociation's fine. I'm like, oh, finally, bit of relief. I'm like, everything's fine now. I'm good. I can interact with things. But I think the difference is like, yeah, the way you get there. So before I go into those really intense stages, sometimes I'll be experiencing really high anxiety and like, I can't sleep and I'll be having a lot of panic, and then it leads to that. So I think, yeah, and also if it's prolonged, then sometimes it's really distressing because I'll have gaps in my memory and I'll lose time, and I'll have these other weird perspective experiences. So I think, yeah, that's when it starts getting really creepy.
Yeah. Kind of understand that, yeah. I guess, yeah, okay. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, thank you for sharing as well.
Anytime.
Yeah. Meta hug to you. Yeah, so with that, I think we don't have any other questions or anything else. Have a lovely night, everyone online, and we'll start packing up in person too, and we'll see you next week. And check out Kynan's retreat coming up and his Thursday sessions too.
Should we take a picture?
Yeah, let's do it both.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone. Bye.
Thank you.